Hello, this is Hero of Legend, and we're doing a special episode today. I guess you could just call it like this a Sonic Discussions podcast, but today's episode, me and RK64 will be talking about the new, it's a special article written by Donnie of at TSSZ detailing about overall bias and whatnot of journalism regarding to Sonic games and the franchise as a whole. RK, you want to introduce yourself?
Sounds great. Hello everyone, I'm RK64, otherwise known as RK128 on NeoGAF, or RK128 free, I believe, on Twitter. And man, I have a lot of thoughts about the great article Donnie wrote and just IGN and the press's opinion on Sonic, but we'll get to that soon.
What should we cover first? Like, just what are your ideas? Like, do you want to do your thoughts first or whatever?
I think a good idea might be we should just kind of talk about how Sonic is viewed and just in general in journalism from major gaming sites, and then afterwards we discuss our opinions, and then we'll bring up examples that support our points, and then we'll talk about Donnie's comments, and we'll have a lot of fun talking about the IGN video, the Game Scoop one they posted. So I think you want to go first.
Well, just like the thoughts in general of journalism in general.
Just in general, like how major gaming journalism talks about Sonic. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to talk?
I guess I'll throw in my thoughts first. Basically, throughout the years, Sonic, as I think it's even fair for us Sonic fans to admit, has had a rocky road over the last few years, especially since the Dreamcast died and whatnot. Well, though personally, I think everything started to really get bumpy around 2005-ish, when Shadow the Hedgehog came out. I think that's when everything really started to get a little iffy, because to me...
No, people started being nasty towards Sonic, like around the time Sonic Heroes came out, I think.
I find that weird because Heroes got extremely good reception. Like, IGN gave it an 8.0, I believe.
And Game Informer gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Which is really good. It's still a green on Metacritic.
Yeah. I mean, and I still think Heroes was a really good game.
I love Heroes.
I love Heroes a lot.
Heroes to me is the Sonic Adventure 3 we never got. To me, it just feels like it's nearly the way there, but it is the highest we've gotten towards an SA3 with the voice actors, the sound effects, the music, and the character variety. Even though they're not, it's still like 3 different gameplay formats. It felt like the closest we ever got to SA3, and it was literally the follow-up to SA2. I mean, it came out literally 3 years later.
I really think Heroes did a lot right, mainly because it felt like a classic Sonic game in 3D, mainly in terms of the aesthetics and look.
Exactly.
Because the music, to me, it sounded like classic Sonic in some respects. The level design, I feel like they took inspiration and ideas from stuff like Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3. I loved the incorporation of the team mechanic, because that felt like it felt like a combination of lessons learned during the adventure games, mixed with them trying to blend the different abilities that you saw Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles have in the classic games, but without swapping different characters. You just press a button, you swap to the character, and I felt that visually, to this day, the levels, the locations, it looks beautiful. And I don't know, it's so weird that when looking back on it, people have very mixed opinions on Heroes. I mean, the controls are a little bit annoying with the speed formation, but I really don't have much issues other than that.
Like, I think exactly the same in regards to being like probably the best representation of 3D version of the 2D Sonics, at least since SA1, because what I like about it is not, aside from Green Seaside Hill having the checkered look or whatever, it really does not rip anything from the classic games. It's just it's completely original. But nowadays, every time Sega makes a new game, there's always got to be almost like it's Green Hill, but it's not Green Hill sort of kind of thing nowadays. And also Takashi Iizuka, the director of the Adventure era and Heroes, said that the reason why he made Heroes was because because of the new consoles, they wanted to make a Sonic game that was more like the classics for newcomers rather than make SA3.
Yeah, I read that too, and I think that was a very good move because it was Sonic's first multi-platform adventure. So it was probably a very smart idea to kind of regress a little bit regarding like the tone and stuff, and just kind of make a straight classic Sonic game.
I heard that the game was initially planned as a GameCube exclusive, which makes sense because one, because of the adventure games came out on GameCube,
And two, it runs the best on GameCube.
yeah, it was absolutely the best on GameCube. But I only played the Xbox version once, but it probably runs pretty almost as well. But I heard that I think the Xbox version might have been greenlit a little afterward. But the PS2 version I heard was was not just horrible, but it was a last minute decision because of the PS2's unprecedented success and all that. Like, it was literally like, well, the PS2 is selling like a gajillion systems. Let's rush out a PS2 version before it's too late, and maybe they had like a month to make it, and that was it.
And oh boy, it shows because the frame rate is all over the place. The shadows lack detail.
Yeah, they're circles.
The controls feel stiffer. There's more vision. There's more like glitches with the textures and stuff.
Have you played it?
Yeah, I own the PS2 version. I didn't beat it. I only played maybe up to Casino Park or Fog Forest, but I kind of put it down. Like, I'm sticking with the GameCube version. Oh boy. So yeah, Sonic Heroes. That's when the series started getting negative critical reception. Then when Shadow the Hedgehog rolled into the picture, everyone felt like that was their excuse to sucker punch Sonic over and over. And then we got stuff like Genesis 06. That really kind of drove the stake in the wall, so to speak, and everyone just felt like, okay, we can rag on Sonic, and we have justification, quote unquote. But to be fair, stuff like Genesis, stuff like Shadow, stuff like 06, those were really bad games.
Well, to me, Shadow isn't the worst. I mean, as far as bad Sonic games go, I think it's probably the least bad because it's very playable. Even though Shadow moves like butter
Soap?
in the game, soap, butter soap.
Never heard of butter soap before.
And it's weird. It's like he goes almost too fast in the game. And it's like he slips and slides everywhere. It's just ridiculous. Like think Super Sonic in the classic games, but in 3D.
Oh man, Shadow the Hedgehog it's an interesting beast because you can clearly tell there was some good intentions behind it, and if it got the polish it needed, it probably could have been a really good game.
I heard it was rushed because of the 360 launch. Like they wanted to either beat it beat it to its release. I think it did by like about a week or something, but that's just me. I'm pretty sure someone said that. I don't know if it was official or not.
That's strange though, because wasn't the best-selling version on the GameCube?
Most likely, but even from numbers I've seen, the GameCube version, well, it probably is the highest selling version, but it didn't exactly light the charts on fire on any system.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I heard a similar story happening with an original version, because originally there was a version of Rayman 3, not made by Ubisoft Multiplier, but made by a different studio, because Multiplier was busy with a King Kong game that came out on the 360, PS2. It came out.
Are you thinking about Rayman 4?
Because
there were two Rayman 4s.
I'm really sorry. I remember I made a mistake. Rayman 3, that game was amazing. I really like that. Rayman 4, that was what I was talking about. Again, I'm sorry for my mistake, everyone. But...
No worries. Because from what I remember, it was from Unseen 64.
Yeah, I love that video.
The original Rayman 4 was actually by a company called Phoenix or something like Phoenix.
Yeah,
not to be confused with the garbage Phoenix studio that made all those crappy knockoff animations or whatever. It was a different one. It was I think they worked with Ubisoft on some horse simulator game or whatever. But other than that, they were tasked to make Rayman 4. And it was for like all then current consoles, GameCube, Xbox, and PS2. And you're right. It was during King Kong's development, so that was probably why Montpellier wasn't behind it. But then all of a sudden, I don't remember why, but when King Kong finished, and then Michel Ancel went on to...
what happened was he wanted control of the game back because Rayman is his he
Baby.
made the IP exactly. So he wanted to make the his version of Rayman 4,
Yeah.
which was going to be which was going to be a dark, which was going to be a little bit dark. It's going to have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of humor.
I remember
You,
the trailers where it
yeah,
was like on the battlefield with all those
yeah,
rabbits
that was
and
so cool. And
and
then there
then
was concept art leaked.
yeah, and for whatever reason, well, the Wii, like it was clearly a Wii game through and through, even back then. But then I guess they got so attached to the idea of a Wiimote, and maybe they needed more time to make the platformer, but they wanted to get it out by launch, so they were like, "Fuck it,
Yeah.
let's just make it a mini game collection instead."
You know, that wasn't the worst move because it was very successful.
Oh
And they,
yeah,
yeah, and I actually really like the original Raving Rebirth. I never played the other ones, but the first one was a solid minigame collection.
I actually have it on both 360 and on Wii via the Rabbids Party Collection compilation. Funny story. The Party Collection in North America actually does have 480p support. So the original release of Rabbids 1 did not have 480p. But the thing is, it looks really weird. Like they forced it to de-interlace or whatever, so you almost have a sort of interlace effect, but it's hard to describe. So it's like fake 480p. It looks weird on the TV. And also the cutscenes, like, first of all, the 360 version's opening where you see like them in a picnic or whatever looks horrendous. It is like it looks like it was taken from a low quality like 240p YouTube video. It's that bad.
Oh my god!
And this is the 360 version. It is abysmal. Like it probably runs. It was probably in game. I can't remember on Wii, but at least in the Party Collection, all the cutscenes are horrendously compressed as well. So. I haven't played the vanilla original release of the Wii game, so I don't know if the cutscene was properly presented there.
The Wii version, it looked nice, it ran well, and I thought it was a fun party game.
Oh yeah.
And I just can't believe they messed up the release of that, but whatever. Rayman came back as a platformer with the excellent origins and the really fun legends. And even his mobile games are solid, like Jungle Run and Fiesta Run. I played Jungle Run. That was a really good mobile game. I was hoping that's what Sonic Runners was going to be like, but oh well.
There are a couple of games I actually want to suggest that I think could have really worked with as a Sonic game. One is a 3DS eShop game. It's literally $1 called Sky Piece, and it's by, believe it or not, a company called Sonic Powered.
That's cool.
And it's $1, and it's sort of you're flying around. It's an anime like game where you are on a, how do I put it, like an 8-direction sort of plane where you can move anywhere in those directions to collect coins or whatever, and speed up or whatever. It's a very interesting and not terrible little game to play, and I recommend it. It's not an endless runner, but it has like a beginning and an end to the stages. But it's like a good high score kind of game. Another one is called what was it called? Raku and Friends on Wii U, where it's like it has a very Disney looking 2D art style, and it's very how do I put it? It's very impressive visually, and it's also another runner, but it's more in a top-down perspective. I suggest you look it up on Google. It's spelled Rakoo and Friends, or yeah, Raku and Friends, and it's been out for like a year or so on the Wii U eShop. It's an expanded version of the mobile original, and I haven't played it sadly, but it looks really good. So maybe something like that could work for Sonic.
I think so too. I guess maybe we should. I guess we can kind of go, since we're like on like since we're like right now in like the mid 2000s. We can kind of continue talking about like stuff like how Secret Rings, Black Knight.
We kind of sort of drifted off. Like we were talking more. We were supposed to talk more about the journalism, not just the games themselves. Like for example, I only really started going online around the early 2000s, like 03 or whatever, and so I don't really remember much negativity or anything about from the community or journalism in general. Like I was in my very first forum ever was IGN, so I hung around the Sonic board on there, and it was generally positive, but it was a forum. There were two sides. Folks that didn't like it, folks that were skeptical, etc. So I guess that's sort of like what you're looking for, but I don't know.
I remember when I first went online, which was, I think was far later than like the mid 2000s. It was toward like 2009, 2010, or maybe a little earlier when I started really going online a lot. And I just saw old. I remember one of the earliest video reviews I saw was Sonic Unleashed for the HD version. I'm like, I watched it, and I'm like, okay, the game looks beautiful, but it's really bad. Okay, I'm gonna play I guess I'm happy with the Wii version. It got the high review score.
I
I
know.
play it, and I feel. I know you love the Wii version. You think it's a great game, and I think it has a lot of great elements, but it underwhelmed me, and I felt like it's too much werehog. I just want to get to the speed levels, because unlike the HD version, where I actually like the werehog gameplay, the Wii version, I was so bored because of how many werehog stages the Wii version has.
Well, the thing
And
is, I think the reason why it feels like there's a lot more is because they're split up into chunks. Whereas in the HD version, one stage could go on for a half hour. The Wii versions could go on for like 5 minutes or so, or maybe 10 minutes, and they're split up into they're split up. So you're probably playing more the same amount of time, just in chunks. And honestly, I think that's a better idea, so that you can actually, finish one and then quit instead of having to stay stuck in a 30-minute long level.
I think my main issue with the werehog on in the Wii version of Unleashed was there wasn't much you can do with the combat, because if that's going to be, I look at it this way: if you're going to have a game where the main focus is you beat things up, or at least a part of the game where the main thing is you beat things up, I would like to have a lot of different moves I could play around with. And I felt that I played the original release. When I first played on Sonic Unleashed on the Wii, I used the classic controller because I felt it was so weird using the bumpers on the game controller to do different attacks. So I just kept doing X, Y, X, Y, X, Y, and I got so bored because I kept doing the same moves over and over again. Then when I got to the HD version, there was a lot more combat variety because you can level up. It felt like, okay, they're just trying to rip off God of War. At least they're doing the thing that God of War did right, where you had a healthy amount of moves you can play around with. And then the Wii version has the better platforming levels, I feel. But the HD version, the platforming is okay too. So I don't know. I just felt that the HD version, the score IGN gave was too low, and looking at it now, I love Unleashed, but if I was going to sit down and be incredibly critical of it, I would give it a 7 on the HD version. But I'm more forgiving when it comes to stuff, so I don't know. The point is, I felt the HD version was a lot better than people give it credit for.
I mean, I'm a very forgiving person too. I mean, when I reviewed Rise of Lyric on Sonic Stain, which unfortunately is no longer accessible, I gave it. I was way too soft on it.
Well, you know what? It tried to be like Jak and Daxter, and the last Jak and Daxter game we got was Lost Frontier, and I felt, and from what I saw of the playthroughs of Sonic Boom on Game Grumps, whatchamacallit, Brain Scratch commentaries, I felt that, okay, it looks like a very buggy version of Jak and Daxter, and okay, I would give it a 5. But if I honestly probably would have sit down and played the game, I'd probably be very harsh on it when I was briefly talking about it during the retrospective that I made, because we both know I don't own the Wii U, so I was able to get two nice gaffers, NeoGaf members, Village and Yoshi, to talk about the Wii U version, and both of them were critical on it, and I felt that after reading through their comments and watching gameplay, it lined up really well. But if I were to play it, I think I would be pretty harsh on it. Probably for the same reasons I was really harsh with Sonic Chronicles, because the people that made Sonic Boom made really good platformers. Just like how people who made Chronicles made real great RPGs. So I would probably would have been really harsh on Boom.
Well, I actually, like, I think I said in a different podcast that I actually platinumed the original Jak and Daxter on PS3, so I played through both Jak 1 and Rise of Lyric, and Rise of Lyric obviously wanted to be Jak and Daxter, but it really isn't. It's like the platforming is pretty downright terrible in the game, and it just doesn't feel very fluid or whatever at all. It's just, and not to mention that Sonic, like, you can get a little bit of a boost in speed if you like repeatedly hit the spin dash button or whatever. But it's certainly not like the adventure era where you could do that and just go blazing fast. But it's just really terrible all around. And like when I reviewed it, it was my first professional review, so I didn't want to bite the hand that feeds me, because it was a review copy and all that, so I didn't want to upset Sega by giving it a harsh review. So I was really sugarcoating and trying to be like overly nice to it.
Well, you was being professional. The impression when I review games, like what I try to do is I talk a positive about the positive elements, but if there's something I don't like, I make that very clear.
Mm-hmm.
And I try, but the whole thing. I guess that's the art of writing, is how you phrase things and how you say things. If you say, "Oh, this sucks," that isn't really professional. That's just you saying, "Oh, this thing is bad." If you say, "I don't," this element of the game has problems because such and such, that's a very nice. That's an elegant way of kind of talking about things you don't like and have issue with, but you're not being mean. You're giving feedback, which is what these publishers and developers want.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of reviews, I also reviewed 3D Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the 3DS eShop, which is actually on the website right now, and I don't know if I said this before, but I looked at it basically from a fresh set of eyes, and but I was pretty critical on some of the basic elements of the game. Like, I was not a fan of like how they want you to go fast, but you keep bumping into shit, and it's just very hard to get really good flow. Like, it's almost like it's not letting you do what you're supposed to. And Super Sonic, even though I remember liking it many years ago when I played in Sonic Mega Collection and gained it through debug mode, here I actually finished the entirety of the game, getting all the emeralds in the special stages, and let me tell you, the special stages are garbage, because Tails keeps bumping into shit and losing all the rings.
Whenever I play Sonic 2, I turn Tails off to just have Sonic, because if you play this, you think in the options menu, when you go in options, you can select characters. You have the options of Sonic and Tails, and Tails.
Oh wow! And I wish I knew that. I might have been able to save myself all the restarting agony.
Well, that's what I do, because Tails is more of a hindrance than like a benefit in Sonic 2 of the special stages. Because if you get hit, you lose all the rings you work so hard to get, and you just kind of like dodge those freaking bombs, Tails.
I know, and thank God for the save states in the 3D Classics version.
The save states was such a fantastic addition, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, good on M2 for doing that in the 3D Classics version. I would never have been able to get all of the Chaos Emeralds from with that. I probably would have just finished the game, and unfortunately, whether or not I would have been able to go back to the special stages and earn the emeralds, then I probably could have, but I don't know. But I'm glad I got all over and done with at that point. But anyways, it was like the game is like the presentation is fantastic. The music, the visuals, and all that runs like a dream. But the problem is that when you get down to the nitty gritty with the gameplay, that's when it starts to get a little bumpy. And that's sort of like where we're gonna get into with regards to like the journalists saying Sonic was never good, he sucks, and blah blah blah. Because I don't know if I should sort of start throwing in my thoughts on that right now, because we're sorry. This is the whole point of the podcast.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Like, I'll never say that Sonic was never good. Problem thing is that IGN, I like to, with IGN's GameScoop video, which I saw the entirety of, it's like 6.5 minutes long, and I actually do agree with, or at least see where they're coming from on a few things, like Sonic, in terms of like how he's aged and all that, because they say that Sonic hasn't aged, but Mario has very well. Like, if you play Sonic 2 and Mario World together, you'll see which one is aged better. And I love Super Mario World. I remember getting really far into it when I was much younger, and when I played it on the Super Nintendo. I actually have it on the Wii U Virtual Console. I really should get into it. But anyways,
my first time playing Mario World was the GBA version. That was one of my first Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah, I never bought. The only advanced game I ever bought in that series was Yoshi's Island, which
One of my first platformers.
Yoshi's Island, Donkey Kong Country were my two first ever games when I bought my Super Nintendo, which was my first ever console.
Dude, before we move on, those two, that's one heck of a way to get started with being a fan of platformers. Both were really fun.
I know, I never knew what I was getting into, and I'm very glad it was the right place at the right time. I think it was in '97, back when the N64 was already a year old. So I guess that was just the one we could afford at the time. So very good purchase.
That was, because those two are fantastic, but continue.
Anyways, yeah. IGN was like, oh, it's never been good, and a lot of people, I think even the diehard fans might agree that at least the first Sonic the Hedgehog isn't, like, it's definitely the least good in the classic era. Like, it was like, they wanted to get it out to compete with Mario, and in a sense it worked, but maybe it was more the marketing that did that than the actual game. I don't know. Because I didn't really I wasn't in that, in the playground of Sega Genesis does what Nintendo don't. I never heard of that until, like, the mid-2000s, so...
I was born when the first Sonic I was born just 3 years after all the classic games came out, so I was kind of ignorant to the whole, like, 90s Sonic thing until, like, looking back on everything.
Yeah, really. Like, you catch it in the aftermath, not during it.
Exactly.
Because my first Sonic game was, the one I first really played was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, so I didn't become a Sonic fan until he officially defected into the Nintendo crowd when Sega went third party, so... It's definitely a weird way to get into Sonic, especially if you grew up during the console war of the 16-bit console war. So you might think that with Sonic being on Nintendo now, he's like, oh no, he's not the real deal. Oh, Sega's betrayed the Sega cause, and fuck it. I mean
no, they didn't betray anything. They tried. They did what they had to do to survive.
Exactly. They made the choice to bring Sonic to Nintendo systems because they had no choice.
Sega did actually. This is just a very brief tangent, but when it comes to Sega's kind of shift to the third-party space, I think they did a very interesting thing. The Xbox, they got the more mature Sega titles like Jet Set Future, a Phasm Dragoon game. The PlayStation 2 got a Virtual Fighter title, and Nintendo got the platformers and a handful of ports like Crazy Taxi, the adventure games, Skies of Arcadia, Super Monkey Ball. So it was interesting how Sega spread all their titles, because some of those titles I think were originally on the Dreamcast, but they finished development on other consoles.
Yeah, like Shenmue 2, I think, was originally a Dreamcast game, but it
came out in Japan. Yeah,
it did. It did come out in Japan.
In Japan, it came out on the Dreamcast, I believe, but it got localized on the Xbox. I think I'm not too sure.
Okay. What else? Oh, I think Shinobi on PS2 was a Dreamcast game, but that got canceled and made for PS2 instead.
Okay.
What else? Yeah, I was gonna mention that as well, because Sega wanted, I think Yuji Naka brought this up himself, where Sonic Team would go to Nintendo, and I guess, well, clearly Sega made a deal with Microsoft because they made a lot of exclusives, like Crazy Taxi 3, Panzer Dragoon Orta, what else? Okay, what was it? Like they did a Sega GTO 2 and whatnot.
Yeah.
Outrun 2.
A lot of the racing games Sega made outside of maybe Crazy Taxi found home on the Xbox.
And Nintendo and the GameCube and GBA got the family-oriented stuff, like Super Monkey Ball, Skies of Arcadia, Legends, the Adventure era. Like, Sonic was basically a Nintendo exclusive for like 2 to 3 years after Sega went third-party.
Exactly, and like we talked about before, Sonic went to all the consoles with Heroes in 2004.
Yeah, and I'm still not sure if I agree that was ever a good idea. I think maybe if they kept Sonic exclusive to Nintendo hardware, like all the fans would be just right there. There would be no splitting up the fan bases or whatever. So
I really don't think the Nintendo exclusive. You know what? Actually, you go ahead and finish your thoughts about on your perspective on Sonic and media. I have to be off for a second or two.
Oh, well, I'll wait till you come back.
Alright, I'll be back in a second. Thanks, man.
No worries.
Okay, what can I do?
So how about that, Sonic? We'll be back after this small break. Sorry about that, folks. I hope you've all been enjoying the podcast so far. It's been a lot of fun recording these with RK64. And, if you have any feedback, just let us know in the comments. I read all the comments, and if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. Just leave any feedback if you're able. Really appreciate that. Just waiting until RK gets back.
Okay, man, I'm sorry. Where was he?
Welcome back.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries. I was just saying, telling the audience, if they have any feedback, they should. I would really appreciate it if they left it in the comments, because I noticed that no one's left comments so far in any of the podcasts I made.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, especially since both of us posted on our social media and the Sonic Stadium.
Yeah, it's not really getting a whole lot of attention, is it?
I mean, it is. I checked the views of my retweets of the podcast, and it looks like it gets 200 views or whatever. But
none of them have gotten 200 views yet. Like one, I think.
Not the tweet, not the video.
Yeah, I know the tweets. So maybe you're just looking at the impressions. So it's like anyone that just scrolls down and just it loads onto their timeline.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Well,
this is a topical thing, so I think we'll probably get some comments.
Maybe, hopefully.
Maybe. So again, go back to where he was before about Sonic and media, where you was at, because I'm sorry I got cut off.
Oh, no worries. If you have important things to do, then you should absolutely do them.
Okay, thanks, man.
No worries. Let's see, where was I?
We're talking about Sonic Heroes, I believe.
Well, I know we talked about the different games on different systems, but
yes.
I don't know there was a whole lot more to cover on that, but I think I should finally just, I was talking about the GameScoop video and whatnot, and, I know that they're very, biased and whatnot, bias is, we're all a bit biased in our own way, we have very strong feelings towards something, both positive and negative about things in life, so it's definitely not any problem with being biased. It's how you how you project yourself, how you talk about things. Don't force your opinion onto anyone else. Try to be. You can be criticism, but constructively. But don't just this is this thing that everyone else likes is garbage, and I don't like this one thing and blah blah blah. I don't know, but
that's my. I'll get to that one. I'll get to my thoughts on that because you've touched on something I want to comment on.
What else do they say?
We can't forget the best part. It's all Sonic fans want to have sex with Big the Cat.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that bit. Yeah, I see what they're referencing and whatnot, and we try to keep this at least generally
family friendly.
Family friendly. We can swear once in a while, but let's not talk about the more sensitive material.
No, we won't. That's the only time I'll mention something like that.
Oh no, I knew it was going to come up at some point.
I don't know. It's just I'll just get my thoughts out of the way now because it's on my mind.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
You know what? So I played for every game in the series recently.
Oh, I know.
I wrote a lot about Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
I plan on writing more about Sonic with the fan games in the future, and I'm very excited about the future of Sonic.
You probably played more Sonic games than I ever will in my life.
Do yourself a favor, don't play Sonic Blast. It's not worth it.
I should play Sonic 4 on mobile, and it's a time waster.
I was saying Sonic Blast. That's not worth it. Sonic Blast sucks. But point is, Sonic has problems. The Sonic series is not perfect.
No franchise is.
I know that, but the thing is, the classic games have problems. I read through that entire. Sonic 1 had problems, whatever it was, Fred on NeoGAF, and Sonic 1 has issues because the pacing of the levels is kind of weird. Green Hill is fast, Marble is slow. Spring Yard has a lot of platforming, but has some speed elements. Labyrinth is a very Mario-like level where there's a ton of platforming. Then you have Starlight, which is basically back to Green Hill in terms of how fast you go. And then you have Scrap Brain, which tries to blend all the elements. But then you have Sonic's the issue with there's no spin dash. So if you're not careful of how you play, or if you don't build up your speed enough, you move slower than you want to. And basically the end point is Sonic 1 has problems, but it's still a classic. Sonic 2 has problems because some of the level design isn't as polished as it should be. Sonic 2 is one of my favorite 2D Sonic games, and I love that game a lot, but it has problems. Because I remember in Aquatic Ruin, you have those drill batniks that pop out of the wall sometimes, and if you're not rolling, you get hit. Then you also have the slicers that throw the blades at you in Metropolis Zone, and if you're not careful at the time you jump, you get hit easily. And then we have the special stages, and if you have Tails with you, it's a bit annoying, and leave it at that. But the point is, the first two Sonic games have problems, and even Sonic CD, which I love a lot, has some big issues. Wacky Workbench can go die in a hole somewhere, and the physics felt very strange. But then you have, but Taxman's 2011 port fixed a lot of problems I had with Sonic CD. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is probably the most perfect classic Sonic game in some respects. Despite it may have issues for some people, but it's probably the closest to perfection the classic Sonic games came to, because it did a lot of things right. The extra playstyle was a lot of fun. The elemental shields were great, are incredibly versatile, and it's a lot of fun. Then you have the Sonic spin-off games like Spinball, which is fun but has some problems. 3D Blast, which I personally really enjoy, but I can see why people have issues with it. You have Sonic R, which, if you really sit down and look at it, it's an objectively bad game, but its music elevates it to not perfection, but it's really great. The Adventure 1, Adventure 2, I love those games, but I could be very critical of them if I want to. Sonic Heroes, Sonic moves like butter when you're in speed formation, but you have the other the other formations that can make the controls better. And playing the game 4 times, it could be frustrating. And the special stages are not very good. I don't know. I didn't like the special stages much. Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic 06, Sonic Genesis, Sonic Chronicles. I hate all those games. I like Shadow the Hedgehog to some degree, but let's move on. Sonic Unleashed, I love a lot, but I see issues it has. Colors, Generations, the racing games, I love a lot. The end point is Sonic has problems, but the games are. When the Sonic really gets it, he really, really gets it. And from someone who played through all the games, wrote a lot about them, is a generally very positive person. I could be critical and be sarcastic, but I give each game respect. Every retrospective I wrote, I gave each title the respect they deserve. At least I feel they deserve.
Because otherwise they'd be called retro disrespectives.
Exactly. The thing that really grinds my gears about the IGN GameScoop video, and this is the same thing with Sonic. Their review on an HD version of Unleashed, and how they reviewed Sonic Lost World. They don't give Sonic respect. And it's all because of the way they phrase things, the way they talk. They talk as Sonic is a joke. Sonic isn't a joke. He's a franchise that can be a joke and is fun to make fun of sometimes. I do that myself sometimes. The problem is you need to have... You're a journalist. You are a journalist. You're talking about video games. If they talk that way about Super Mario, about Rayman, about Call of Duty, about God of War... the people will be incredibly infuriated with them, because
to be fair, those franchises haven't exactly had the bad rap that Sonic has. So you can
I see your point, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Every franchise, every game deserves the same level of respect, and that is a job of people as journalists, and that is something I keep to heart when I do my writing, because when you write about something, when you write about a topic, if you don't give it respect, people aren't going to respect it. And that's the biggest issue IGN has regarding their coverage of Sonic the Hedgehog. The problem of their coverage of Sonic is they don't treat it. You could joke around with Sonic. You can make fun of Sonic. Sega has made fun of Sonic themselves, and it's been working out great for them. And the thing is, you don't have to keep poking at the negatives. There's positives to look at. As someone said on NeoGAF to me when I was covering one of the games, you spend so much time trying to find positive things in shit. Mind my language. You know what? That is something that could be applied to every professional reviewer or critic. You try to find the good things in every single video game when you talk about something, and you do the best job you possibly can being positive about something, because there's so much negativity in the world, there's so much toxicity in the world, and there's so much vile stuff in the world that we deal with on a daily basis. Stress, frustration, financial stuff. We all deal with stuff on a daily basis that makes us want to bash our heads against the wall. But the thing is, when we talk about something and online, or we're writing about something, we should be as positive as we can be, because that is something that makes people smile, that makes people happy, that makes people consider reading or looking at our content. That is something that pisses me off about IGN with how they treat Sonic. They don't even care to be a little bit positive about it. They just like poking at the negative stuff. And as Donnie does so well with his article, that happens in the gaming industry a lot regarding Sonic. They just look at the negative. They never look at the positive. Because even in the worst possible Sonic games, there is some really good stuff in it. The soundtracks for Shadow and 06 are fantastic. The story elements of Chronicles have some good bits to them. And Sonic Genesis, you can just laugh at it as it's just as that game is a result of Sonic Team being spread too thin. The end point of my very long ramble, and I'm sorry if I've been talking over you, man, but if you're going to talk about something, you be professional about it with how you word it. And if you're going to be representing a major media outlet, you don't be negative and bitter about something. You treat it with the same respect that you treat the other titles and games you cover. End of rant. I'm sorry if I was overboard.
Can I just say one thing in response to that?
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Thanks, man.
I'm actually like unbelievably impressed with what you just said. Like you show a level of passion and just like a level of like you know your shit, and I really really respect that.
Thanks.
And honestly, I don't know what others on the site would say, but I think you would make a great writer for the site.
You know what? That would be an honor, but I'm just happy writing what I'm writing.
I would like if the like I don't want to say anything, but I would be in full support of you ever joining the site. Hopefully, maybe someday it'll happen.
That would be a lot of fun.
We'll see what the future holds.
Yeah.
Like I just want to say, if I hope maybe someday you'll maybe be able to join in, because once in a while they'll ask for new writers, and you should give it a look if the opportunity ever arises. Like that's how I got in.
Don't worry, I definitely will.
Because your retrospectives and all that would be a great contribution to the site.
I think I posted some of them in the forums.
Yeah, in the forums, but I mean on the main site. I think they would be a great fit.
I think that'll be a lot of fun. If people are interested in my writing and my work, they're more than free to contact me.
But I really like how you show a lot of heart, and really good heart, and that's something that I could truly respect and appreciate.
Thanks, man. You know what?
You care about other people's feelings, and you want what's best in everything, and I really appreciate that.
The whole thing is that if you're being paid to write about something, if you're working with something, you gotta be positive about it, because if you're just doing something to rag on it, what kind of person are you? I mean, I can understand Game Grumps just for playing games because you know what, they just like to make fun of something. Sonic is an easy target. You don't have to you don't have to write a long paragraph or anything to explain that to me. I fully understand why. But if you're going to be talking about something, try to be positive about at least one thing. That's what upsets me about the IGN coverage, because they're not positive at all about Sonic. They didn't even talk about Sonic Mania. They was doing misinformation left and right. It's not filled with just old stages. It's being mixed up. The old stages have a new content, new remixes.
It's funny because it's funny because Brian Altano, the guy on the far right, actually just said new levels for like 1 second, and then everyone just ignored it. He actually did. I caught that in the video where everyone was like, "Oh, it's just all levels and all that," and then Brian Altano, he's like the vaguely like the the guy on the far right on the on that table, and he was like, "Oh, and new levels," and it was like, anyways. Like literally, they just moved on right afterward. It was just like they didn't acknowledge it much at all.
They don't care. That's the thing. When they're not being. I've made a very long, in-depth comment in the video, and the basic gist is you're not being a journalist. You're not being a professional journalist. You don't, and that is the reason why I stopped watching your content so long ago. Well, I also stopped watching that content because Colin and Greg left and formed the kind of funny games, but whatever.
I've seen some of their stuff. I'm not fond of that stuff. No.
I don't know. They talk about PlayStation. I own a Vita. I like that stuff, but the whole that's the thing that upsets me. IGN, all these other gaming sites, they just like they just like picking on stuff. And if you're gonna be having your livelihood about video games, why focus on the negative things? Be positive. And this just doesn't extend to gaming media. This extends to the gaming community too, because there's all the issues with Metroid, there's issues with Sonic, there's issues with this, there's issues with that. Just sit down and have fun with something.
Well, as I say, negativity breeds clicks. Because people love to read negativity, and it's just like, oh, Sonic is shit, and this X or Y thing is junk, and people and all the haters will come in and be like, "Ooh, this is good." And, I'll admit, I do have unfair negative feelings towards certain things. I don't feel like bringing them up just because I don't want to spark anything. I like to keep those kind of things to myself.
And that's fine. Everyone has the right to be negative about something. You know what? This ties back to this. Was Sonic 1 never good, Fred? Because
I remember that.
That poster has spent. You know what? Most people, and they say Sonic sucks. They say it sucks and they drop it. This person was a fan of Sonic, who really grew up with the Sonic games and loved them, watched the cartoons and everything. It went back recently and just found issues with Sonic and the classic games, and they spent time and energy talking about other posters, explaining why they don't like elements of the games, and even wrote little mini reviews on Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and they basically explained, look, I love Sonic. I love Sonic in the past, and I respect the series. I just have some issues with it. I respect that. Because normally when people say Sonic sucks, they just drop it like a brick and just walk away. This person stood their ground and said, I don't like this because of A, B, C, D, and E.
Lol, Sonic was never going.
If you're gonna say something sucks, you know what? I will listen to you if you explain why. If you say something sucks and leaves, I'll leave too. That's the best way to put it. Okay. Did you share your thoughts? Because I feel like I rambled for the past 20 minutes.
Oh, no. In fact, if anything, the podcast is more on your hands, since you're the one who suggested it, and like you came up with the idea to really talk about it and make it a podcast. So I kind of like the idea of maybe you sort of taking charge of it.
Oh, okay. I guess that's nice. So I guess maybe we can kind of talk about the games we feel were underrated or just kind of unfairly criticized.
Four words: Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Boom.
Oh, you know what?
Not boom as in Sonic Boom.
I know what Sonic Zero Gravity is. You know what, I wrote about this, but I'll talk about it because I love Zero Gravity. But the original writers did a lot of things right, but the thing is, it didn't teach. It didn't have a good tutorial system. So you really, for example, okay, not good. Maybe it had a tutorial system, but it had a learning curve because each gear did different things. Each character was part of a specific class, not unlike Sonic Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
The visuals looked good, and basically the whole game it was an extreme sports take on Sonic, and I felt that was a really good idea. The problem with Riders was the learning curve, and because the game was basically Sega's answer to Mario Kart in some respects, that was a problem because people pick up Mario Kart, they get it, they know how it works. When they pick up Sonic Riders, there's this big learning curve, and once you get through the learning curve, you really love the game. You love the tracks, you love the level design, you love how each character is different, and the unlockables with I think
Mm-hmm.
Ulala, Supersonic, Knights, those are really great unlockables. And then you had Zero Gravity, which it simplified things a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but they did so in such a good way
Mm-hmm.
because you can use a GameCube controller, though the fact that it's not printed on the back of the box is really odd.
Yeah, it's true. I don't think it is mentioned on the back.
Yeah, I thought you only had to use the motion controls, but then I found you could use a GameCube controller. I'm like, why didn't they ever say this?
Unfortunately, you cannot do that on Wii U. You have to use the Wiimote on the side. There's no classic controller support, I think, in the game, which is weird.
No, I don't. Well, at the very least, you can use the D-pad.
Yeah,
So,
you
I
can,
mean-
and I did that on my lawn play. I was using the motion controls at first, but then I couldn't get the angling of the B button gravity turns or whatever,
Yeah.
because you couldn't like go upward or whatever to reach new
Yeah.
heights with that. I couldn't get
Yeah.
it to work with the motion at all. Even when I
So you-
even when I tilted backwards, it wouldn't work. So I finally figured out, oh, I can use the D-pad, and it was a lot better then.
Exactly. You know what? Zero Gravity, it works for a couple of reasons. One, it visually looks really nice, and its music is some of the best in the Sonic series.
Oh yeah.
Ungravify, I don't know if I said that correctly. is
I
one
know.
of the-
I don't. I can't remember how it's pronounced either.
What?
Ungravitify. What?
I don't know. The Gravity track, Sonic's theme, that sounds fantastic, and I love that theme, and I was so happy that came back in Generations. I used it for the Silver fight. Worth it. A lot of fun.
Random.
The controls, they felt very tight and very responsive regardless of what character, what vehicle you picked. The items were very clear and you understood what each item did. And I really loved the ring system because it gave you a reason to collect rings. You didn't just power up your boost, you was able to swap to gear change and gain a bike, gain a hovercraft so you can use flying ability, be able to grind on rails, or get different buffs, like you can collect rings better, or you can store rings, and all these different things, and you have tons of different the boards. You had that in Riders 1, but Riders 2 does it. You had like the Super Hang-On, I think that was in Sonic Riders 1. You have like the Crazy Board, which was really fun reference. The Shinobi, I mean, and the story. Both Riders games have stories, and they're lighthearted. They felt grounded in like what you would expect from a Sonic Adventure game, of Sonic Heroes.
Zero Gravity's story was a lot better than the first. It actually felt like something closer to like SA1 and 2.
Exactly. So I mean, Zero Gravity and Riders are good to great games that have their problems, but they're a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And they just fuck it all up with Free Riders by making it a Kinect 360 exclusive. I'll never understand why they did that.
I don't know. Sega makes strange moves sometimes.
It's weird because back around '09 or so, I wanted them to make a new Wii exclusive Super Monkey Ball game using the balance board because it just made a lot of sense, and to do the same thing with a Riders game, make it a Wii exclusive where you can optionally use the balance board to maybe control the board. They eventually did the former with Super Monkey Ball Step and Roll, but then they never did that with Riders, and instead just made it a Kinect exclusive on 360, and it's just like, right. And look how well that turned out.
Basically, Microsoft said, "Hey Sega, we want to have exclusives." They was like, "Okay, we have this prototype for a Riders game. We don't know what system to put it on, and hey, put that on Kinect." And they're like, "How much money we're gonna get? Here's your wad of money. Go make it." And they're like, "All right."
Yeah, that's
Hey.
the only way that they would have ever done that, with some sort of money hat. I know a lot of people use that in some, whether it's an agreeable term or not, but I don't see why Sega would put it on 360 exclusively and not on Wii. Like, it was a very bizarre move, but that's in the past.
exactly. And the Sonic game I felt was the most underrated and poorly received, despite being, personally, in my opinion, a great Sonic game. Sonic Unleashed on the PS3 and 360.
Yeah, as we talked
Sonic.
about at the beginning.
Okay, I'll basically sum it up again.
Oh no, no,
I
I was just saying, referencing like we did talk about it. But if you want to say,
Yeah.
if you had more to add, go ahead.
Thank you, man. Basically, it felt like it felt like I think the great Clement said this during when he got to Eggman Land in his playthrough of Sonic Unleashed. But it really felt like Sonic Team felt said, "This is the last Sonic game. This is likely the last Sonic the Hedgehog game we're ever gonna make. Let's throw everything in the everything in the kitchen sink in here. Let's put a ton of money. Let's put a ton of budget. We're gonna do a really great job with Sonic, especially if this is our last shot, because this is the last like big project from Sonic Team that they made. Because after '06, we already know everyone hated it. So when he made Unleashed, there was so much pressure on him to deliver a really great game, and that's probably why Unleashed has the highest budget, has the highest visual fidelity, has the most, in my opinion, was one of the most beautiful games of that generation of consoles.
I mean, they made a whole new engine just for it, the Hedgehog engine.
Exactly, and they got someone from Square Enix
No,
to
no,
make
no, no, no,
that.
no, 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 no. What happened was the guy who directed Unleashed went to Square Enix. Like he created the engine, the Hedgehog engine, and he went to Square Enix afterward. And
Okay.
he was the one. He was the man behind the Luminous engine.
Okay, thank you for correcting me. I knew that from somewhere, but
You were half right. It was just you had it backwards.
all right, thank you, man.
No worries.
I don't know. I think Unleashed was, if it was, it's one of my favorite Sonic games because I really felt it had so much heart, so much effort, and so much care put into it. And it has problems, but the problems, in my opinion, are probably comparable to what my personal issues with Sonic Adventure 2, in the sense that I love Sonic's levels, and I didn't mind the Tails levels, but I hated the treasure hunting levels. So, in my opinion on Unleashed, I love the day levels. I really enjoy the night levels, and the flying sections are not a big deal, but there are only two of them, so whatever. So I don't know. When I wrote my retrospective on Unleashed, I basically compared the Werehog to the Tails mech. When basically like it's okay. I really like this, but it has its problems. But it's not like Sonic Adventure 2 where you have the treasure hunting, and that really looked me the long way with some very bizarre design decisions behind why they changed what they did with Adventure 1 treasure hunting. That's a whole different topic. Point is, I felt Unleashed was one of the best Sonic games of that generation, next to Colors and Unleashed and the racing games. I have to say, from 2008 to 2012, Sonic had a really great couple of years.
You want to know what I think about why the HD versions of those games are so highly regarded? Because to me, the games are too fast, and that's why I like the Wii version so much. Was because it was a more modest, a more modest pace. You know, got to go at a moderate pace. But you know what? I just figured out a good term to use. It's a roller coaster ride. People love the rush. And I think that's something that maybe I can't really grasp, at least because, to be fair, I never put that much time into Unleashed HD and Generations HD, and I have them on PS3, so I should get into those. And actually, I did put a little bit of time into Unleashed HD, but I only got to play like one one daytime level, and that was Apatos. So I only put maybe like about an hour worth of gameplay into it, and that's like half Werehog anyway. So, but anyways, that's
what I think you kind of hit a good point. The Wii version felt like it tried to focus more on platforming, but the problem is I felt the controls were really stiff to me personally. But I do like what Dimps and Sonic Team did with the day levels, where there was a meter that leveled up as you collected rings, and I felt that was a really good way to have the boost because you used the boost. It was a timed thing. Because of how many rings were in the stage, you never ran out of it, but you had to be careful because if you boosted too many times, you run out of it, and it becomes an issue. So it kind of looked like how Colors worked, but it was very sparing and very gradual of how much boost you had. And I felt that was a really good design choice because levels in Unleashed on the Wii day levels at least focused more on platforming, and you had a lot more. At least I felt this way. There was a lot more automated sections, but you had a lot of freedom with the controls. My problem with the day levels in Unleashed on the Wii was it didn't have like the Unleashed levels on HD version had some 3D platforming, but the Unleashed that didn't control it that great. Sonic and the problem is I think what Sonic Team with them kind of ran into was the engine or whatever they used to run Unleashed on the PS2 and Wii made Sonic stiff.
It's weird because, on the Wii,
Fine.
sorry about that. I know exactly what you mean. Where when you move in the game in the Wii version, it's very like you can't really turn very much when you're walking forward. And if you were to take away the boost and just use it as purely for running and jumping, it's honestly very poor. It's just where it's almost more linear that way, even though a lot of times you have more space to move, but it almost wants you to make sure you're still going at a decent pace. Yeah. Whereas in the HD version, and this is carried over to colors, you have a lot more easier movement by just without the boosting or whatever. It's much more fluid.
Exactly. So I just felt the controls are better in the HD version, but at the same time, the controls in both versions of Unleashed are bit unrefined in comparison to Colors and Generations.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely see it both ways.
So, I don't know.
But I like the strategy of the Wii version of Unleashed, where with the the timed boosts, instead of just holding the button and just going having almost an indefinite boost. I mean, that's good in terms of you want to get from point A to point B all in one go, because I've seen people do that where you can basically get the whole level with just boosting alone, and that can be cool. But I don't know, I just like having more control over my character and not just having holding boost to win.
No, I understand. I think Unleashed had that issue sometimes, but like I said, Unleashed does have a lot of 3D platforming. The issue is the control isn't there, and it isn't until Generations where the 3D control is good. At least that's my opinion. But yeah, I agree with you. The Wii version, there was more strategy to how you used the boost, and the level design was built with that in mind. But I felt because it was focused so much on trying to make the boost a really interesting mechanic, it kind of affected Sonic's controls because, like I said, he felt very stiff in the Wii and PS2 version. But again, it's all about what you prefer. And it's great that you saw a lot of fun in that, because I had fun in the Wii version, because that was my first version of Unleashed. The HD version I played before Generations came out when I got my PS3, and that's what made me really, really love the game. But that's just what I prefer, and you prefer the Wii version. Both have great elements.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess maybe we can talk about the advanced games, because I think those have a very odd reputation.
Well, I've only heard good things about the Advanced trilogy. At least, the third one is the only one I've ever really heard issues with. Because I know people adore the first one because they see that as the true Sonic 4.
Mm-hmm. I feel that way too, and I love Advance too. I think it's interesting looking at the Advance games and then looking at future titles Dimps made, and everyone said, "Oh, Dimps is horrible at making Sonic games. It never made a good Sonic game." Then I look at the wall and see the Advance games, Pocket Adventure, the two Rush games, and Colors DS, and I'm like, yeah, keep thinking that.
It's weird because their recent games, their recent Sonic games have been pretty caca, like with the Generations 3DS and Unleashed 3DS have been I don't know what was going on there.
My impression is, I think Colors was I read rumors about this. I think Colors was supposed to be a port of Generations. But then Sonic basically gave the team more time to work on it, and they made it its own game. And then Dimps was making the DS version of Generations, but they retooled that to Colors DS early on in development. And that's why you saw all the cameos of Blaze, Silver, Gamma, Shadow, and then when we hit the Generations, they only have a year to make that. So of course it feels rushed and unpolished, because they only had a year to make it, where they probably had 2 years in between Okay, probably more than 2 years, but you get the point I'm making. They had more time to work on a DS version of Colors. And then when we get to Lost World, I really don't know what to say to that because they had 2 years to make that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe they just don't know how to make 3D Sonic level design, but at the very least, they know how to make Sonic control pretty decently because I felt the mechanics in the 3DS version of Lost World were relatively solid. The running on walls felt fine. The spin dash felt fine. Just when you held the run button, Sonic felt like he went too quickly sometimes, but I don't know.
Well, like, Dimps is, I still believe Dimps is a very capable developer. I mean, you have folks that made the advanced games, who made the Dragon Ball Z Budokai games. I mean, they're like a top-tier developer when they get their shit together. But the thing is that I guess Sega have been, like, first of all, I heard that Generations 3DS only had 8 months of development.
8 months?
That's what I've heard. I don't remember where, but that's what I've heard people say. And
honestly, that explains a lot.
I know, it's a very short amount of time. But when you consider that Colors DS came out in October, November 2010, maybe they didn't have the dev kits at the time for the 3DS, so they maybe didn't get it until spring or whatever, so they didn't have a whole lot of time to get the game finished in time for the holiday season 2011.
Yeah. That could also explain why modern Sonic is just Sonic Rush Sonic.
Basically.
Because they didn't have if having 8 months, how are you gonna make 3D platforming levels on new hardware you never really worked with before?
Yeah.
So I mean that explains a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe we can kind of. What did you think of Donnie's article? I felt that he did a very good job, kind of touching on all the historical things with Sonic, and I felt that the Sonic franchise, it has its problems, but if you're going to be just looking at it just as an excuse to be negative towards something, that's kind of stupid. But if you're going to be negative towards something to try to be critical and better the series, that's fine. Donnie kind of touched on how the press just likes ragging on Sonic, and that's kind of messed up.
Well, I didn't read the whole article word for word. But the gist I get from it is that the whole point, that's why this whole thing started in the first place, was because he wanted to bring everything together. Why, seeing how, all the proof or whatever of journalists just being unfair to Sonic, and they don't give him the respect he deserves, like you said, and all that. But I don't know. In my opinion, as unfair as it seems, they have the right to rag on Sonic, not just because Sonic's been bad or anything. I mean, he has, quote unquote, but I think the best thing is just not get fussed over it. You can not like it, but you don't have to read the stuff they put out, and just see the franchise how you want to view it, not what people you'll likely never meet will look at it. It's just ignore it. I mean, yeah, people will bring it up, but I don't know. It's not like Donnie yeah, it's kind of his job, so to speak, to do it, but he didn't have to make the article. I mean, he could just put it off and just and moved on to something else, looking for more Mania stuff to cover or whatever. There's probably still stuff out there or whatever his heart desires, but I mean, it's not a big deal to me. I know there's bias and such. I'm so familiar with the and so used to people on Gav going, "Oh, Sonic was never good. Crash was never good." And
boy. You know what surprised me the most? During my retrospective series on Sonic, people were surprisingly respectful. They looked at the discussion. They gave these decent thoughts, and I could probably count on maybe two hands the amount of toxic comments I got about Sonic, because people even said, when I wrote the Sonic 4 retrospective, they're like, you gave this game more respect than it deserves. Or when they looked at the Sonic Chronicles retrospective, they I don't know, when I got the Generations retrospective complete and I said, I'm done, I hope you all enjoyed it, everyone's like, look, I'm not a big fan of Sonic, but I really enjoyed reading these. I feel you gave the series great attention. I don't know. I think the main issue people have, including myself, have with the press being so toxic towards Sonic is less that we're fed up with it, because, let's be honest, we've been dealing with this for the past ever since
Like a
Shadow
decade?
for the past decade or so, and at this point, Sonic is the reason why I stopped trusting reviewers for a long time because
Yeah. I mean, it's just that you're tired of all the shipping thrown by journalists. I
exactly
mean, it may seem easy to just write to just ignore it or whatever when it's been going on for a decade, especially if it's like right in your face. I can see why it's really gotten to people.
You know what I think the reason why people are so bitter about the IGN thing? It's because Sonic actually has a very bright future ahead of him. Sonic Boom Fire and Ice looks very promising. I'm getting that day one. I can't wait to play that. Lego Sonic looks like it's we saw all the footage of it, and he looks so incredibly faithful to the past Sonic games. And some of the stuff Traveller's Tales worked on in the past, it looks great. Sonic Mania, we don't need to say anything. That looks like the classic game everyone's been begging for. Sonic 2017, people have rightfully reserved expectations for it, but
I think it'd be fair if people just temper their expectations until the games come out, because
I
we've
know.
all been disappointed before. So what may seem like a bright future could still go down in flames.
Yeah, but at this point, if I'm wrong about how I think Sonic has a bright future, that's okay. But at this point in time, we have a confident Sega who knows their stuff. They listen to all the criticism they got over the years. They got the fan community involved, making a new official Sonic game.
And I'll say, I'm actually impressed with Sega are actually willing to swallow their pride and allow what is essentially the fan community to make their own real, legit Sonic game, and that takes a lot of balls to do.
I think that's the reason why that's one of the many reasons why I'm so excited about the future. They gave San Antonio a full year of extra time to make Boom, Fire, and Ice as great as it possibly could be. And it's also important to note the 2017 game is the anniversary game, and they moved out a full year ahead.
It's not even going to be in the anniversary anymore. It's like when is the day? June 23rd. That's Sonic's birthday.
Yeah.
So by the time June 23rd, 2017 is the day. The 22nd would be the last day of his anniversary, and once the 23rd comes up and it'll be his 26th birthday, it's no longer going to be his anniversary.
Yeah. So they missed Sonic's 25th anniversary just to ensure that game is going to be as good as it possibly can be.
I think that's why Mania exists, because that's going to be the official anniversary game.
Yeah, I think so too.
And it's a great idea. I mean, it's the classic game that Sega are obviously very a little almost too attached to. Latching onto in terms of whenever his anniversary comes up, we gotta do something classic related. So that's it makes a lot of sense for them to do an actual classic game again,
Exactly.
and not just Sonic 4, but like an actual classic Sonic game, like one that looks at literally right out of the Genesis or Saturn era as Mania does.
Yes. So I just think that I have a reason to be excited about Sonic's future, and if some titles disappoint, oh well. But at the very least, I can say without any reservation, without any doubt, without any bias, that Sega's trying. They're trying to make Sonic decent or good again. Or okay, they're trying to repair his image after Sonic Boom. So I don't know. I have respect for people who know they messed up and they're trying to fix themselves.
Oh yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah. It's always better to try to fix their mistakes. I mean, if you just ignore them and just keep going on a very bumpy road and not learning from your mistakes, that's not right.
Exactly. So I don't know. I just think that you make a good point. With the press, like this stuff has been happening for decades, and we should just kind of deal with it. But at the same time, considering the future titles that Sonic has in store, I think it's kind of ignorant and frankly not very cool to kind of be sour towards Sonic now when Mania looks promising, Sonic Boom Fire and Ice looks promising, and the Lego Sonic content looks to be very faithful to the source material. At least wait till Boom and the Lego Sonic expansion come out before you start trashing the series again.
You can't spell ignorant without IGN.
I want to avoid making that joke. Whatever.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay, man. You know what? Like you said about the whole big thing, that was going to be said at some point. So you know what? kudos to you.
It's an old tired joke, hence why I said it so jokingly.
You you grabbed the low hanging fruit, you pulled it, and you waved it like, aha.
I think it was a Wumpa fruit. I'm like, what's this doing here?
I don't know. Maybe a bandicoot's gonna come spinning in and grab it. Oh boy. So I guess maybe want to have any closing thoughts, or is there anything else we need to discuss?
Let's see. Why don't we talk about, at least just very quickly, are there any reviews in particular, aside from IGN's, that stand out to you, like, that are being overly unfair or whatever? Because I know there are, like, a lot of sites were really harsh against Unleashed HD, and being very favorable to the Wii version.
I think maybe Jim Sterling's review on Sonic Colors.
Oh yeah, I've heard that was he gave it a really bad review or something.
He gave it a 5 out of 10, I think, and
that's too harsh. Even though I have my issues with it, I would give it at least 7 or 7.5.
I would be more harsh towards that, but Jim is very, very like in your face regarding reviews, because he's not afraid to bash something he doesn't like. And
oh yeah, he like the Sonic Party. He was like one of the biggest like people just laughing his ass off at how bad it was. Like almost like really critical about it, you know.
Yeah, and he also criticized Mighty Number 9. He has his regular Steam hunt where he bashes a lot of bad Steam games. He shares his stories of really bad developers on Steam who kind of abuse the system. He is not afraid to talk about bad stuff in the gaming industry. I respect him, and even though his thoughts on Sonic don't line up with my own, I respect him as a person, because what he's likely saying about Colors is what he honestly feels.
I'll tell you what made me really respect him was his eulogy, I think the word is, for Iwata when he passed away. He gave a really touching speech about it, and that made me really respect him.
You know what? He didn't wear like the suit. He just did it in his room. He just sat down at his desk and talked about him. So he's a wonderful journalist, and I have a lot of respect for him. So when he was saying his thoughts on Colors, we may think it's too harsh, but that's how he likely feels. He's a critic who, when he says something, he isn't sugarcoating it. He means everything he's saying. So I can't be too critical about his Colors review when he was on Destructoid, because that was his honest thoughts. He wasn't just he wasn't bashing Sonic because he hated Sonic. He just was being honest. So I can't be too critical about that. At least I could say that about him compared to how IGN reacted with Unleash HD, or their review on Lost World, were basically outright saying, this is a poor man's Mario, and why is Sonic walking around like a plumber when he should be running?
Well, I know Hillary Goldstein in the Unleashed HD video review said that basically Unleash is so bad that it makes the classic games better, I guess.
Oh god. Basically, I don't know. Basically, the whole Colors review that Jim wrote, it's negative, but he has a right to be negative. And when he was being negative, he was being honest about it. So I can't be too negative about that. Plus, Sega did send him that poster, that giant Sonic Colors poster, and put it on his lawn, and it rained, and it was stuck in wet on the grass, and he just kind of laughed it off. And then even Sega and Aaron Webb, I think, made a video about it. Made a video like, we want to invite our favorite member of Destructoid to come and have a piece of Sonic cake. I remember he made a video at some point, and he was kind of ragging on the review Destructoid he gave Colors, and it was really funny.
I think they also ragged on made a joke about Game Trailer's low review of Generations or something. What was it again? I don't remember.
All Generations made that wonderful top 10 franchises that should die, and I think Sonic was number 1. And I hated that. And then it was weird. Game Chillers is probably one of the most fair. Well, when it was around, they're still around in another form, but regardless.
Yeah, Easy Allies, I think.
Yeah, and when Game Trailers is still its own thing, they were very fair to Sonic reviews. They gave Lost World a solid 7-something out of 10. And they were critical about it, but they talked about its good bits. They gave Generations a pretty good score. I think they gave Colors a pretty good score, and I think they were fair to Unleash. I'm not super sure, but they're fair with Sonic. I just think that was just a dumb idea they had with the top 10 franchises that should die. That's a really bad subject. I mean, no franchise should die.
No, I mean every franchise deserves another chance to like sort of be reinvented. Not just complete have their identity changed, but maybe just like a new breath of fresh air. Try something new if something's not working.
So I thought that video was very tasteless, but whatever. That's in the past. But I guess to kind of close my overall thoughts on the whole discussion regarding Sonic and the press is, for critics and members of the press listening into this podcast, just try to be positive. Just try to be positive on Sonic and just try to look at the good things the franchise does. We all know the franchise fell flat on its face a couple of times. We know Sonic Boom was bad. We know Sonic 06 was trash. We know Shadow the Hedgehog had problems. We all know Sonic has his issues, but the series isn't shit. The franchise was not never good, quote unquote. The franchise was always good, and it still is good. You just gotta look at the right spots of the franchise. And you know what? If fan game develop, just look at it this way: what developer? Why would people in the Sonic hacking community want to come on board and help with an official Sonic game? Or why would the Galaxy Trail make their own original take on Sonic, or a Sonic-like game with Freedom Planet, if the series was never good?
I'm actually surprised that Galaxy Trail isn't involved with Sonic Mania. I don't know why that.
You want to know why? I think it's because they're making Freedom Planet 2 now. They're probably too busy.
Yeah, but I would think that if Sega said, "Hey, why don't you help out with Sonic Mania?" I would think the folks over at Galaxy Trail, I think his name is Steve DeDuro or something.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, I think he would have accepted the invitation with open arms and just held off on. And don't forget, Christian Whitehead is involved with that.
I know. Yeah, he oh yeah, I remember. And whatchamacallit, Flack, who was involved with the Sonic before and after the sequel games, is also on board with Freedom Planet. So I mean, if people want to make, or better yet, whatchamacallit, the developer behind Sonic before and after the sequel is making his own original game called
Jester. Jester.
Squawk the Electric Jester, and that looks to be really good. So why would these people want to make Sonic-like games, and why would people in the community want to work on Sonic if the series was never good? Now, if you sit down and think about that and be like, oh, maybe the franchise was good, or is good, then give yourself a cookie and pat yourself on the back. You use logic there.
Cookies.
Yeah, delicious. So, what are your closing thoughts, dude?
Just, like you said, you should just, obviously the franchise must have been good in the first place if there's so many people that are fans of the series. But also, you should look at the series from don't be so overly critical and, how do I put this? You cannot like it, but just don't go around, shouting out, "Oh, Sonic was never good," and try to make basically rain down on Sonic fans' parade. Everyone has the right to like what they want to like.
Absolutely. And you know what? If people want to be negative, they have a right to be negative too.
But I also have I want to also say on the other side of the spectrum, don't let other people's negative thoughts bring you down.
Absolutely. Because everyone's going to be negative about something, but if you're going to let that negativity get to you, it's going to ruin your enjoyment of the thing you really like. So just don't let the sour comments, negative stuff online put you down, because honestly, that pushed me to be away from the NeoGAF community for a week or so around the time before Sonic Mania and Sonic 2017 was announced. Don't let the negativity put you down and prevent you from talking.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I know things got really rough for you.
It's fine. You know what? I can't be sensitive to the toxic comments. It's you know what? I think I said this in NeoGAF somewhere, but being a fan of Sonic is like having a little toxic cloud over your head, and sometimes you breathe it in, but instead of just being upset about it, just brush it off and continue playing. You deal with it. It's part of being a fan of Sonic. It's a shame I have to say that, but that's the truth. but don't let negative comments ruin something you really like.
Mm-hmm.
Just if they have a good logical reasoning behind it, sit down, listen to them, and consider what they might be saying. But if they're just going to say something is bad or something is shit, ignore them because they really don't care about the franchise and they just want to say something negative or toxic because it's cool and in, quote unquote.
It's way past cool to hate on Sonic.
Yeah, gotta be beast.
I mean, if stuff online's getting you down, go outside, play Pokemon Go.
Oh, go catch all the Pokemons.
Gotta catch them all.
Oh man, you know what? Pokemon's awesome.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah, I think. Did you see the images on Twitter about the recently announced
New Pokemon, yeah.
regional Pokemon? Like I forgot the name, the Executor, like the special evolution with his head.
I know, it's like the new meme of the month.
Yeah, I remember someone I think I don't know what image was, but I think it was like maybe the Seventh Dragon characters or some anime characters using him as a sword.
I saw another one where like there was Executor silhouette in Pokemon Go where his head just goes all the way above the screen.
Oh boy!
I mean, the jokes with this are just really great.
Yeah, great.
And also like how people are like posting multiple times on Twitter, each with a piece of Executor with just the body, the neck, and then the head.
One of my favorite was someone had an image of like the Arceus and the Executor guy on the left, and he had Dawn, Dawn in the center, the Pokemon character, and she was like pointing at the Executor. The next image pointing at Arceus, and it's like, and then it cuts the image like the Pokemon text. What were you thinking? he's like the god Pokemon. Oh boy. We should have a Pokemon discussion at some point.
Oh, for sure. Maybe not for a while, but because I want to like just before I forget, don't like unless something major comes up, we're probably gonna just take a bit of a break from podcast because I think this is the fourth one we made in the last week or so.
I think the last 2 weeks. I'm not sure.
Well, the first two we did were when the party happened on the 22nd, and that was how long ago?
You're right.
Actually, it's the 1st of August. That was just a little over a week ago, so a week and a half. So yeah, our fourth podcast in a week and a half.
Oh wow. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you're right. Maybe we could take a break.
I mean, not even. I don't think even IGN makes this many podcasts. So in such a short amount of time.
We're better than IGN. I don't know.
We bring you the content, and you just don't listen to it.
You know, people listen.
A few of them.
People still listen though. So you know what, man? It's been wonderful talking to you, and maybe we should kind of do like our plugs or whatever at the end, or maybe we could just leave links in the description.
Well, if you want to, we already said our plugs back in the first Sonic Party podcast. So check the description of that podcast, and you'll see all our links and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to say that for people who are wondering, okay, why are your retrospectives taking so long to come out?
Why are they taking so long, RK? Why are they taking so long?
I don't have a good reason, but this month I plan on posting one every 2 days, every 2 days, and I hope by tonight I have 3 up as of August 1st. I hope to have 3 up. And if I'm wrong, if that doesn't happen, I'm sorry, guys.
But today is the 1st.
Yes, so I hope to have a bunch of them. I hope to be. I just want them to be more frequent. Is the basic gist. So have a great.
Make sure you don't wear yourself out.
I know, man. I just want to make sure that they're more frequent because I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about.
You know, just make sure, like, don't fry your brain, and then all of a sudden you get what they call writer's block.
Trust me, when it comes to stuff like Kingdom Hearts and Sonic and Mega Man, there's a lot of stuff I can talk about.
Speaking of Kingdom Hearts, did you ever realize that the initials of Kingdom Hearts KH also stand for keyhole?
Oh, I think that was intentional.
Yeah, I realized that like a couple of weeks ago, and it blew my fucking mind. Like, they did that on purpose, didn't they?
You know, Sora is the key. That he has a key blade. He uses key chains to change the forms of the key blade.
He wants to open the keyhole to your heart.
you know what? That's very fitting considering Sora is everyone.
I'm Sora, you're Sora, we're all Sora.
Absolutely.
And
So-
also we're all Shrek. Just remember, we're all Shrek. It's not ogre yet!
Oh boy.
And speaking of which, I think our time here is ogre, so we should finally be signing off.
All right. So Shrek is love, Shrek is life. We're signing off soon. So have a fantastic day, everyone. Let's be positive online when we talk about stuff, and don't let negativity get you down. This is RK64, RK128, and Hero of Legend, and we're gonna sign off soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Mm-hmm. Best wishes to you from me as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, folks.